name is Rev SK and welcome to Ready to Work powered by APSA. Okay. Hi guys, my name is Rev SK and welcome to Ready to Work powered by APSA. Now, moving on to today's episode of our show, global changes in the use of technology and the nature of work have urgent implications on how we educate and prepare the youth for the world of work. Employers are increasingly looking for people who are agile, flexible, adaptable, proactive, creative, and collaborative in the field of work. Now, those soft skills are increasingly becoming a major factor in job hiring. These skills are poorly understood, many a times not well addressed, too often overlooked in policy and institutional contexts, including education, training, and in the workspace as well. The APSA Ready to Work Toolkit, what we started, is designed to provide young people the needed skills that will help them transition smoothly from the lecture room to the world of work. Now, the Ready to Work program supports students with tools to help them develop work skills, people skills, money skills. These are very important things. And of course, entrepreneurial skills as well. It's an online training tool that is here to enable participants to choose a path and pace to complete the modules at zero cost. Total zero cost, nothing they pay for. APSA also organizes monthly free online webinars for youth seeking to be employed, and of course setting up their own businesses with life skills and the following models. I mentioned them early: money skills, of course, how to make it, how to keep it, how to make it work for you, and how not to lose it. Also, entrepreneurial skills that talks about key things new business owners should know, the ins and the outs of setting up your own business. Professional skills or people skills, that is professional relationship building, a key to successful career growth. Work skills, identifying, creating, pursuing, and generating what you want. Today's webinar is on work skills, and we are discussing the topic, the power plan for choosing a major and then a career. Two fields, academia and then the world, job market. Two things that has to do with that. And today's webinar has two great people joining me on here. Of course, we're discussing the topic, and I'm not doing it alone. Two experienced professionals from both industry and academia to share some insights with us. My first panelist is joining me via Zoom. Reverend Dr. Mrs. Benaima is a senior counselor and acting director at the University of Ghana Careers and Counseling Center. She is specialized in career pastoral, academic, vocational, and emotional counseling. She teaches soft skills, including time management, presentation skills, leadership skills, workplace ethics, among others. She's an alumni of KNUST, the University of Ghana, Trinity Theological Seminary, Union Theological Seminary, and Aden Theological Seminary in the United States of America. We're also privileged, of course, to have in the studio with me someone who is experienced in talent acquisition, corporates, for corporates, and passionate about youth development. Miss Sylvia Mbama is currently a people business partner with APSA Bank and has a 12-year experience, guys, 12-year experience as HR generalist, managing talent acquisition and onboarding, talent management, training and development as well. She's a graduate from the Ashesi University with a pool of knowledge, of course, to share with all of us today on the webinar. She's also an LLP practitioner with demonstrated abilities in HR, project development, and management. Miss Sylvia Mbama, in due course, will give us insights into how to make the right career choices early in life. Bridget and Sylvia, thank you so much for making time for this conversation today. We are grateful. Of course, let me start with you, Bridget. Wayne, not so normal times. How has COVID-19 impacted the education system, and how have you coped personally?
Well, thank you very much, Reverend. Before I talk about COVID, I would like to seize this opportunity to thank APSA for this continued partnership. As the Careers and Counseling Center of the University of Ghana, we are very grateful to them for this opportunity to be in partnership with them to bring knowledge to our students. Every year something goes on, and I just wanted to sound that we are very, very grateful. Yes, so COVID-19 has impacted us in various ways, actually in both positive and negative ways. This is the first time, for instance, in the university, we've had to run programs actually having the double track system, where we had two groups, first years and level 400s coming in first for about 8 weeks. And then after this, we had the second group coming in, which is the level 200 and 300. And, that has been a bit stressful for the students because they had to do work that was meant for 12 weeks or so, then write exams, and that was quite stressful. But one positive thing is that it makes it possible for them to have more room, and so who wouldn't have gotten rooms now have rooms on campus, and that is good for the students. Now we have to do online classes, and that situation has actually unearthed some talents in students and staff as well. With COVID-19 and with programs being organized virtually and so on, to some extent, it's also helping to cut down on costs because we don't all have to converge at one place for a program. It's also helping in terms of time management. So I see it, from two perspectives, negative and positive.
Great. Now, for a pandemic that we all never expected, I think you guys have done a great job keeping up with the educational track system, still maintaining our system and making sure that our young ones are still trained. Big ups for that. Let me move back to my guest in the studio with me, Sylvia. Sylvia, good morning. Now, tell me about how COVID has impacted your workspace and, of course, the recruitment and talent acquisition process. You are far experienced in that. How it's affected an organization like ABSA.
Reverend, thank you. So, just like Doc said, it has had both positive and negative impact on work. We quickly had to adjust to the new normal, where we had to get more of our colleagues to work from home or work remotely, and then on the recruitment side, we've had to do more virtual recruitment. Luckily for us as ABSA, we already had the technology to support that. We have Workday, which is a one-stop HR system, so candidates are able to put in the application and we are able to progress it to the next stage. One of the negative impacts we've had in the recruitment space will be getting candidates to be able to project especially their personality well in terms of virtual interviews. We still have some work to do in that space because a lot of candidates don't know how to project the right background. We are not able to also get that impact from them that they can adopt to the culture of ABSA. And on talent acquisition, I would say that it has been positive because we have a lot more channels where we can find talent. You don't have to only do the newspaper adverts. We have LinkedIn, we have WhatsApp, we have the social media. So finding talent has been made is more easier as compared to before.
That's great to know. All right, so guys, if you're watching us on YouTube, you're watching us on Facebook, if you have a question for what we're about to discuss, kindly key it in there. We'll have time for that and then talk to our panelists on what you want to find out. But we're here for a purpose this morning to discuss the power plan for choosing a major in your studies and, of course, finding a career as well. And Bridget has a brief presentation for us. We're quickly going to give her some time to let us know what she thinks about the topic and then move on from there.
All right. Thank you very much, Reverend. So we're going to talk about the plan for choosing a major and a career. Let me just say that a career actually is like an occupation undertaken for a significant period in a person's life, with opportunities for progress. It is the profession one engages in for a long period of one's life. And so career is like a journey that includes all the jobs and experiences and training in a particular field that one would engage in. For instance, you can take up a career as a health care provider. But then you could pick up a job in that field. And so there is a slight difference between the career and a job. You could have a number of jobs, engage in a number of jobs in your career. You can take up a career as a teacher, but pick up various jobs or assignments in the field of education. Or you could have a career in law, maybe corporate law, and take up jobs with different companies such as maybe ABSA or GBC or any other company. So career is more about who you are, while the job is about what you are doing at a particular time or period in your life. Jobs are like assignments taken within one's career, usually for pay. Now, career planning, which we are actually talking about today, is a lifelong process. It is a process that affects all aspects of living. It involves identifying one's interests and abilities. It involves exploring options where you match your skills with abilities and existing careers. It involves setting goals where you match your set goals to your educational needs, for instance. It involves implementing plans towards achieving those goals. And so ideally, this career planning should actually start from the time when one is a child. It should start from home and even at basic school level, where parents and teachers would observe a child to identify, what this child does easily, so that they would be able to provide the necessary support and guidance till the time when the child himself or herself is capable of getting involved in the planning process. So we could call the basic school level as the explorative stage, where you give the child the opportunity to actually engage in a number of things while you observe and identify what the child does best or what the child enjoys doing. At home, even while the children are playing, you could even observe and see what kinds of traits is the child exhibiting, for instance. And you identify, the traits in the child's actions and expressions. Is she behaving more like a caregiver, or is he very musical, for instance? Is he the mechanical type? You find some children who would want to dismantle every tool and fix them back, And so once you start seeing those traits, it begins to give you an idea about what this child will become or will do well in future. If you get to the JHS level, for instance, and
Regis, can you hear us?
A Ghanaian context, a different, or through reading, sometimes even through excursions, as you visit different companies, the child gets to know what the kinds of careers available, through drama, school clubs that the child can be part of, mentoring programs, discussions. All these would be avenues through which the child at the basic, the JHS level would be exposed to various careers. This is where we should also identify their academic abilities or aptitude vis-a-vis their academic and career interests. Since after this stage, they would be going into the subject groupings, at the SHS level. They will be going into the sciences, the arts, the business studies, technical and vocational studies, and visual arts. So at this stage, the individual subject areas are exposed to the child. And then you want to find out what subjects are they doing well in? What subjects are they actually interested in? And here both teachers and parents begin to affirm the child's interests. And so after this stage, the child is going to move into SHS. And in fact, we could refer to that stage as the critical information stage, because that is where the student is already getting into a subject grouping and needs to be informed about where those subject groupings are leading the child to. And unfortunately, that is the stage where problems are also caused, because that is where sometimes the child is given, excuse me to say, wrong advice, maybe by teachers. Because a teacher may feel that, oh, you are very good academically, your aptitude is very high and strong, and so just because of that, you need to enter into the sciences. You need to read science. And sometimes that causes a lot of problems. Another source of problems would be peer pressure. Oh, my friend is going into the sciences, and so I also want to do science. My friend is going into the arts business, and so I also want to do it. And so peer pressure sometimes becomes a source of problems at this critical information stage. Or it could be wrong advice from parents. I wanted to do law and I couldn't do it, and so you need to do law, and so you need to read arts. That kind of advice without considering the strengths of the child becomes problematic. This is the stage where teachers who are serving as counselors in the schools should take this very seriously and actually find the opportunity to inform the students about career options that are related to their subject areas in which they find themselves, so that it would widen their scope of possible careers, so that they will not be limited in their thinking. So that it's not like once you do science, the only thing you can read, further would be to read medicine, or to do engineering. There could be other, careers related to science, and these kinds of information should be given to the students at this stage. Which of the career options are actually found in the country, in universities in the country, in colleges in the country, in private institutions in the country? This kind of information should be given to the children at this stage. Which institutions in the country even offer academic programs leading to these career options? What related programs are available either in the same institution or in other institutions? So that you don't find the students, just applying to UG alone, for instance, even though what the student is interested in can be found in other universities or other institutions. At this stage, schools should actually organize programs and bring in experts, even from the university or other institutions, to actually talk with the children, the students, to widen their scope of thinking, so that they can actually have a vast range, to choose from. Choose subjects that will actually suit their traits and their strengths. So, from the SHS stage, then you find the child, in most cases, entering the universities or the tertiary level. Mm-hmm. Tertiary level could be various institutions. Or you find the child, or at that point, the student, for some reasons, going into apprenticeship or something else. So let's just take it at the tertiary level. Now, at the tertiary level, you consider the following, things: the child's or the student's abilities, the interests, the values, and their personality. These go into what we refer to as self-exploration. The abilities have to do with the aptitude of the student, the things that you are able to do well. Whether you are musical, you are artistic, you are mechanical, you are good in cooking, you are good in driving, and you are really interested in driving, you are good and interested in playing football, you are interested in dressmaking or, fashion design. Things like these would tell what your abilities are. Your interests, these are the things that you really enjoy doing. Preferring to work with people, for instance, instead of working alone, could be one's interest. Working with things, using their hands, instead of working with people, could be one's interest. Working with data and ideas compared to working with other things, And then another thing to consider would be the values. These are the things that the person regards highly in his or her life. For some people, it's very important for them to own a lot of money. And so that will determine what kind of career they want to go into. Some people would want to be famous. They may want to go into show business. Some people may have a strong desire, and for them it is very important to be a devoted person in their religious life. And so they may want to go into ministry. or some people have this idea of helping people, serving others, bringing help to people. Now, all these things go into the person's values. Personality of the person. This is about who you are as a person, your qualities, attributes, what make you who you are. It has to do with your personal traits, your ability to get on well with others, being well organized, self-confident, showing compassion, being reserved, for instance. All these will determine where you will perform better. And this is what we refer to as the exploration stage for the individual at the tertiary level. So with all these in place, then you want to consider what career choices are available, to me in my context in Ghana, for instance. Would I want to even consider being an entrepreneur so that I would rather own my business? And ideally, if you are in the university, for instance, by level 200, 300, these things should actually be clear to you. And so after establishing that, you want to consider, what would I need to study further? Would I need a postgraduate diploma? Would I need a master's degree? Would I need to, go into PhD? And so that begins your educational planning, even while you are at the tertiary level. And you want to find out what resources do I have, to be able to get into these fields or these areas. Where do I even want to start from? And, if I'm in the university, for instance, where does national service fall in terms of, my way of thinking? Would it be necessary for me to make some plans to do national service in a particular company? Would I want to explore that so that will lead me into my career? Probably, because you are doing very well, you are getting the first class, it's being considered for you to be a TA, a teaching assistant. And so that's where you want to do service. But then probably that will not be of help to you. Probably it would be better for you to be in a company which will be geared towards your career dreams. So these are things that you consider at this level, and at this stage it is helpful to actually hold discussions with counselors, and counselors can actually provide psychometric assessment to help you identify your strengths. You could hold discussions with academic advisors if you're in the university or a college. That is where you also engage in internship opportunities to actually engage with other people. And then that unearths your strengths, and it begins to open your mind as to what you can do better. And also, of course, attending special programs like these, which will actually help in tailoring you towards your career development. So basically, these are the things I would like to share for now about career planning and how this helps us in choosing our major in the university or in a college, or wherever we find ourselves, and a career path for our lives. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Bridget, for that presentation. A few questions have come up, but we'll definitely serve them in due time. If you're watching us on Zoom and you have a question, kindly put it in the comment box. If you're on Facebook, just put it on there as well. We'll definitely revisit that for you. But let me come back to you, Sylvia. Sylvia's with me here in the studio. Sylvia, you've heard from Bridget. She's spoken so well about how to guide and counsel the young ones, the stages, the different stages that comes up in our growth before we even get to the tertiary level where she's far experienced. From the perspective of an employer, you are on the other side, and having heard Bridget speak about all these, what are the areas that resonate with you, and what experience do you see when recruiting at the workplace?
I think I took two key points from what she said. Being self-aware, because she did mention knowing your abilities, and to know your abilities and the kind of skills that are required for you to be in the job market means that you need to be self-aware. And the second thing is to be intentional. So being intentional, she mentioned something from the JSS to SHS and moving to the tertiary institution. It's very important from the work environment, we concentrate more on the kind of skills that the person has. Okay, and from a graduate perspective, we are looking more at the soft skills. And she mentioned communication skills, joining clubs, joining groups, getting certain leadership skills, organization skills, which will prepare you for the world of work. So before we bring in anybody, we are concentrating more, especially if you look at our graduate training programs and most of the entry level, even attachments opportunities, we are looking more at the soft skills. Can the person work with more people? Can the person communicate very well? Can the person organize themselves? Do you have attention for details? And especially now that we are looking at future skills, we are also looking at whether the person is digitally inclined and can adapt to our systems and all that. So what resonates more with us is you have a plan, you're intentional about it, that you have this career and you are moving towards that. So that allows us as an organization to know where to place you. And so those are the critical things, being self-aware and intentional about your career and having a plan for it.
That's great. So you are also still in the work field. We hear the term work ready all the time. From where you sit, what does it mean critically? What does it mean to be work ready? When we say somebody's work ready, who is that person? What is the whole ideology about?
So somebody that is work ready is somebody that has the skills necessary for employment.
Okay.
It's as simple as that.
Which are the things you mentioned earlier?
Yes, you have the skills that makes it necessary for you to get employed. And that also includes the fact that you also have an idea of which industry you want to be in.
Okay.
And so you are self-aware, and then you have the necessary skills for you to get into that industry or into that career.
Basically, so you know who you are and you know where you want to fit. Basically.
Yeah.
Great. Now, what would you describe as the biggest challenge in all your years as a recruiter? What would you describe as the biggest challenge in the job market at the moment?
In the job market, what has been the biggest challenge is finding true talent.
Okay.
And when I say true talent, we have a lot more people that have completed school and want jobs, but most of them are not self-aware, like I've mentioned earlier, and you cannot really pick them as a true talent that you want. Again, we have most of our graduates, and Doc mentioned something which is very critical for me, that do we have career centers in our universities that are grooming our people to know how to prepare before you get to the job market? I was lucky to be in an environment like that, and I know it had a very positive impact on my life. So I think the biggest challenge is to get our graduates to be work ready through internship opportunities, through providing the right skills that they need in terms of how can I develop my communication skills, how can I develop my technical skills. And then so you have graduates come in and you give them like a basic Word document to type, and the person cannot even do mail merge. Or the person cannot, go the extra mile because what the person has been exposed to is the classroom and not having the soft skills and the other skills that can allow them to work. So I think that is one of the biggest challenges that we have, having them have that creativity and innovation to have that impact, because as a fresh mind, we are also looking for people to bring fresh skills and fresh, ideas for us to grow as a business. And that is a very big challenge that we are facing.
I feel, so I've been to a few interviews as well, and just based on what you said, usually the question is, what are you bringing on board? In as much as you are fresh, you don't know much about the industry you're trying to work in, but what are the things that you've seen? In your training, what have you learned? What do you think you can add on to the company to make you, a better person in the company, somebody they would want to employ? And so I think these are things that we should pay a little bit extra attention to. It's very unfortunate you go to our schools and people are just basically trying to pass the papers and become the number one student in their class, and then that's where it ends. I was very privileged to be in an environment, just as you mentioned, where we had career guidance centers and people were actually patronizing that. So I would go there once in a while and then, ask questions. Where can I work? What do I equip myself with in order to fit in the world job markets? These are all things people don't pay attention to, but I think this is why we're here today. We're definitely going to get to that. Moving on to my next question, what has helped you on your journey, and what advice would you have for others who want to set off a similar, manner?
I have been very intentional about my career.
Okay.
And right from school, and like I mentioned, while I was in school, I was friends with the career center. So before I even went for my first interview, I had learned how to, how to answer psychometric assessments, the tests. I had gone on Stanchard's website to do the assessment tests, like the psychometric assessments, like 4 or 5 times. Yeah. And I had done internships, which was something that also supported me, because I did internship right from second year. And on campuses too, we have work that people can actually get themselves involved in to get some kind of experience. And I always lifted my hand up when it comes to group exercises and group activities to present. All these are things that I think I was engaged in that helped me to build certain leadership skills, my presentation skills, and my ability to even answer certain interview questions when I get exposed to. And one of the things I always tell people, that do a SWOT analysis of yourself. SWOT analysis are not supposed to be done by just businesses, but as an individual, you need to have a SWOT analysis of yourself to know what your strengths are, which areas you need to work on in terms of your career. In that case, when the opportunity comes, you are ready and you are able to pick it up. So you need to be intentional. I always say be intentional, have a plan. And having a plan, I think, is one of the difficult things that people have to go through, because then you need to have the big plan and, break it down into minute plans, and which is something that people find difficult to do. But if you have the time to do that, then you have something to look up to for you to get to where you want to be.
Thank you so much for that. Now, moving on, let's talk about the various misconceptions about the job market. You are far experienced in there. What are some of the things you think people get it wrong, or what people think is but isn't? You meet young people all the time, you meet students all the time. They get in and there are things they expect to see, they don't see. What are some of the misconceptions in the job market you think we should know?
I'll mention 2 again. One is the know somebody before you can get the job. That's not true. And that is so not true. For me, especially in APSA and from where I sit, I think if you put in a lot of effort, I always tell the people that I coach or train that anything that you're supposed to do, do it well and put in your all. Because if you put in your all that I want this position, and you work towards it, and by working towards it, what is required for this position? What skills are they looking for? Do I have them or don't I have them? And then you do, if I don't have them, then I need to speak to somebody in that space to help me get it before I even come out and present my CV. So you work towards it, and people feel, I've had instances where people have come to me and said, oh, I wanted to apply for this job, but I didn't apply because I thought the manager knew somebody, and that person has come for interview and another person has gotten it. I will say that I will speak for APSA and for certain private institutions to say that we are looking more at your experience and what you can offer. So once you can project that to the organization, you are good to go. It's not about who you know. I don't know about other industries, but I can speak for APSA to say that once you have the experience and you have the skills, and we know that you are coming to contribute to our well-being, then you are good to go. So that is one misconception. Then there is the misconception that I'm young, nothing is really expected of me. I mean, the company is just there and they will help me. If you don't have anything to offer, nobody is going to take you. So you have a lot of graduates, moving around and not having jobs. And then they also have this misconception that if I don't get a formal institution or a formal company to employ me, then I'm out of the job market, which is not true. Where I am coming from, we were taught that whatever you are learning, if I'm looking for a job and I'm not finding it, what are my interests? If I'm a good, and fortunately for us, we are in a global world now where we are using technology, and you can sit in your room and you don't need a lot of capital to start a business, go and get a shop and all that. I can sit in the comfort of my room and come up with something creative. And so if I put myself in that small box, that there are no jobs, then it means that I don't get to grow. So you have people coming in like that and having that thing that the company is going to help me grow, but we also want to take from you, even though we have opportunities for you to grow in your own environment.
Now that we've mentioned these, but you wanted to mention 2, but ended up being 3. So I want to find out, per your experience, how do you think we can turn these misconceptions around? How do we even communicate effectively to the academia, the students, the ones who are coming into the world, job markets? How do we let them know these things don't exist? Do they have to get in there before they find out?
I think that is what we are doing now with our Ready to Work program, where we have the people and the work skills. If you join our work and people skills, these are some of the things that we unearth to the students, and we are very conscious about it. We've moved to a lot of the institutions and still ongoing. So these are some of the skills that we are going to train you to let you know that don't have that misconception that you need to know somebody before ABSA is going to recruit you or before an organization is going to recruit you. But if you have the right skills and you can project it well, then you are good to go in the work environment. And you know that we have the entrepreneurial skills training as well. It is also supposed to help. I think people think that entrepreneurial skills is for people that are already in the business and all that. No, but it's for students. I met some of my mates, I think, recently, and I was in the same class with them, and almost 80% of them are entrepreneurs. So these are some of the things. We need more organizations to come on board, just like what we are doing for our Ready to Work, to close some of these misconceptions.
All right, thank you so much for that. I have a final question for you, but let's move on back to Bridget. Sorry for keeping you waiting. Bridget, I want to find out from you now, having heard the discussion, the things Sylvia and I have discussed right now, what are the most critical changes that we must make before entering the future world of work? You told us all the things that we should look out for, things that are supposed to take place, but what are the critical things we should look out for before we enter the world job market?
I think that if you are a student and you feel that you know everything just because of your qualifications, that is a mindset that should be changed.
Okay.
Because you need to recognize that life, is a continual journey of learning, and so you go into environments, the work environment, the world of work, being ready to learn, and that is what helps you to develop. You continually search for opportunities to learn. So that even takes my mind to situations where you find students in the universities or in colleges just focusing on the subjects they are learning for the sake of grades, and they finish with that and they know nothing else. But it's important that even as you try to get good grades, to get the A's, to get the first classes, it's important to make yourself available, to engage with other people, to be involved in other programs that would help you learn some of the soft skills that we are talking about. So in the University of Ghana, we have the Careers and Counseling Center offering various programs to help in career development, and it's important for students who come into the university to actually make time to participate in some of these programs that we offer that make you actually ready, for the job market. And for instance, we have a career development program that would make, teach lessons on career planning, workplace ethics, preparing for interviews, time management, negotiating with advantage, communication skills, presentation skills. All these would come from such programs, even together with what ABSA does. And I think students should go into the learning environment being ready to learn as much as they can. And you can never say you know enough. We have a saying in my language which says that, education is like the baobab tree. Your hands can never go around it. So life is about learning and learning. And I think young people should always keep that in mind and never think that they know it all.
Great. Now, what are some of the challenges? Well, let me just limit it to the greatest challenge you're facing in relation to effectively supporting your students to select the right majors that obviously aligns with the career ambitions they have when they come to you?
Yeah, one challenge that we face is the situation where, in some cases, the student is offered an academic program, and the student feels that this is not what he or she chose.
Yes.
And so as soon as they see that, they close their minds up and are not ready to even find out what they could get from this program they've been given. And that is a challenge. It affects their morale, it affects the energy, the drive, and it affects their performance. But sometimes some students would take advantage of that situation and come to the counseling center, and then we help them to have a better perspective in relation to the courses they've been provided, and then it gives them new energy to go on, to face it and actually do well. So that sometimes comes up as a challenge when a student finds himself or herself in that situation and decides not to do anything about it. And sometimes students go into academic areas at the SHS level which they are actually not suited for, and then they come into the university, they do well actually, get very good grades, but they come into the university and realize that at some point they cannot cope anymore because it is actually not the field they are cut for. They actually may be arts students, but then they end up finding themselves in business studies or something like that. So if we get it right at the secondary level or even right down to the junior high school level, it would be helpful at the tertiary level.
Okay.
So that's also another challenge we sometimes face.
Now, when I was in uni, I remember very well, it took me more than just knowing to come to the counseling and guidance center. For someone like me who's all about moving forward and positivity, don't you think we should get to a point where it should be made a mandatory part of our studies as students? So, once you enter uni, just as maybe you gain extra credit for your studies, you should always make sure you partake in career guidance programs and at least visit the career guidance center twice a year or maybe once in your study period. Don't you think we should get to a point like that?
That would actually be very helpful. We do a lot in advertising our services and advertising the kind of help we can offer in relation to career planning and development. We advertise our programs, which I would like to mention later. But at the university right now, we are realizing that yes, and some of the departments make it mandatory for some of their students to do internship, for instance, in industry, and they are actually giving grades for that. What we are doing now in the University of Ghana is putting down, working towards a policy that will actually make internship obligatory or mandatory for students. And we are also looking into the possibility of this giving them grades, so that by the time a student goes through his or her program in the university, this student would have had at least one or two opportunities to do internship, to have a feel of what the world of work is like, and to actually know what to prepare for. So yes, if you say, don't you think we want it to be mandatory? I think it would be helpful to make it mandatory. And of course, not just make it mandatory, but actually make the, services and the programs available for that to work very well, for students. Yes, that would be very helpful.
Thank you so much. Now, since you mentioned the products that the center has, let's move on straight to talk about the resources that are available at career counseling centers on campus, not just University of Ghana, but the other campuses. What are some of the resources available so that people who are watching, who have probably never had the opportunity to, have the experience, will know what to expect when they go out there?
Sure, thank you. So at a careers and counseling center, which I believe this would be similar to what we'll find in other institutions, The first thing that is provided is counseling, where, through a guided conversation, we help, the students to take decisions about their careers from an informed perspective. And this could be done over a number of sessions with the students. We provide psychometric assessment, and we have people trained for this. So it's not just about taking the test, but you take the test, and then it is scored, and then the expert guides the student through the results and to help the student understand his or her strengths, and also get to be informed about careers in which he or she could perform well. We create opportunities for internship, for instance. So we are, we have links with organizations and companies which make, spaces available for interns. And so we link students to companies and organizations for internship. We have opportunities for volunteering, and that's something that I think students should actually, take seriously. Sometimes we think, if this thing is not going to give me any money, I'm not interested. But sometimes it is in volunteering to do something somewhere that you will learn something, that you would even, have some connections, for instance, that you could even state as your work experience, So let's be interested as students in volunteering, especially during our vacation. We have opportunities for mentoring, where they are exposed to the world of work, and to discover their strengths and abilities and interests that will lead them to becoming aware, of themselves. We hold career weeks, just as other institutions would do, and this is done every year. And during the career week, we have a forum with panelists from academia and industry, actually engaging students on different themes related to the world of work. And this is usually followed by a 2-day career fair, where we actually bring companies and organizations to pitch their tents and engage one-on-one with the students. Sometimes this leads to opportunities for internships as well. For some, it leads to opportunities for permanent work. For some, it leads to opportunities for national service. So students should take advantage of these career programs. And APSA does very well when it comes to that one for us at LIB, for which we are very, very grateful. We have a program we call Transform My Community Project, which in that program we have a few students selected to go into very deprived areas in the country, sometimes in the north, in the Volta region, in the western region, where they actually go and live for about 2-3 weeks together with some of our staff, and they identify needs in those communities and try to come up with solutions. And that sometimes becomes projects for them, which could even be sold to organizations, probably for support. So that's another one. We have an entrepreneurship hub where we help students develop their business ideas. We have experts coming from industry to help them develop their business ideas so that after school, they could engage in those. We have, as I said, psychometric assessment tools. We have a CV clinic where students are helped to actually write good CVs about themselves that will be presentable to companies and organizations. The career development program I mentioned runs for 10 weeks, where a student takes just a class per week, and some of the subjects taught in that program would be career planning, workplace ethics. I think I mentioned those.
You mentioned those ones already.
So,
all right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for the info. I'm going to come back to you. Let me get back to Sylvia with me here. Sylvia, how can employers create awareness about all these important processes? Once that has to do with, choosing the right career and all that, equipping themselves for the job market, meeting the standards when they come and meet recruiters like yourself. How do we create more awareness out there for the young ones?
I think most employers have to take their corporate social responsibility to the next level by concentrating on our youth, because it's a key area that is important for national growth. So just like what APSA is doing, we need more organizations to join, get into the institutions, train these individuals, partner with the career centers like what Doc just mentioned. I know we have partnered with University of Ghana, we've partnered with Ashesi and some other institutions. So once you partner with them and they have their career fairs and other career programs, you'll be able to have that positive impact in the lives of the youth. So we need more organizations to do this, have mentoring and coaching programs, which we also have. Apart from, providing the right skills to our trainees, we have mentoring and coaching, which can also help that young graduates to learn something new.
For themselves. All right. Now, since you mentioned products and then platforms, we're here for Ready to Work. Let me quickly check this one in. If you need to find out all the information about how you can be a part or take advantage of Ready to Work, the website is readytowork.absa.africa. Go on there now and check it out. It's time for your questions, guys. If you sent yours in, I will quickly serve that. If you have some more, send it in. For our guys watching on our Facebook and on our Zoom. First question, I think I would send straight to Bridget. Bridget, someone in here, well, the name is Cornelia Bleusi. Good morning, Cornelia. Cornelia says, you mentioned earlier that career identification should start from childhood, but that's hardly the case in our schools here in Ghana. What do you think accounts for this, and can this ailment be realistically remedied? Kindly take into consideration the students to teacher ratio, especially in our public schools. Do you think this can be remedied?
Yes, I agree that we are not doing too well when it comes to career planning right from the basic school level. And we can do much, much better than we are doing now. Yes, can it be remedied? I think, yes, if we take the bull by the horn and try to change the situation, it can be remedied. That is why we are doing something like this, to have people informed. So that school authorities would actually be intentional in making this happen. I know some schools do things like career day. We see it as entertainment, but it is not just entertainment. It is actually a time when the little ones, even up to kindergarten level, begin to know that there's something called an engineer. There is something called a pilot. There is something called, there was one time a little boy dressed like the investigation journalist. I've forgotten the name, but the one who does
a nurse.
Yes. Somebody dressed like a nurse for career day, and that begins to tell that child that there is a kind of profession that is called
investigative journalism.
So these programs are all ways of actually starting that career planning journey, But then I think that the counselors in our schools should go the extra mile in getting programs run in the schools to actually give the opportunity to the students to be informed. I mean, schools can call on the University of Ghana Careers and Counseling Center, for instance, to come and talk about career plan. One of those is going to happen even tomorrow at Accra Academy, where an officer from our center is going to the secondary school to talk about career planning and how to even prepare to enter the tertiary level. So if all schools are found doing these, I think it will begin to remedy the situation.
All right. Bridges, let me still stay on you. A message in here from Oswald Atanga says, which comes first, a major or a career? In considering which one is very, very important at any level you're in. Let's say you are in a tertiary level, year 1, year 2. Which one should you consider first? Thinking about your major or thinking about which career path to choose?
Ideally, ideally, I would think that the career comes first. Because the career will determine the major. If you have a career in mind, for instance, our sister mentioned the fact that she was very intentional in her career planning. And so that determined even what she decided to study. So your career will determine what you would want to study. Because, identifying the career comes with a lot of things. As I mentioned, it comes with your abilities, identifying your values, identifying your personality traits, identifying your interests. So all those begin to lead you to the career choice.
Yeah.
And then you get to find out what do I need to study to be able to fulfill that.
Okay.
So ideally, career would come first. But there are situations where people would not think about career, and then they find themselves with a major. Okay, that happens. But when that happens, it's not too late to begin to explore and find out where does this major come in my career choices, or what can I gain from this major, on my journey in choosing my career. It is not too late to do that. So if you find yourself in a situation where you have not actually thought about your career, but you find yourself with a major, with an academic program, it's not too late to begin to find out, okay, what career can I get into with what I'm studying?
Okay. All right. So let me send the next question to Sylvia. Sylvia, I want to find out from you, okay? What is your advice to graduates who want to pursue a second degree before searching for a job?
Again, it depends on what you want to do for yourself. Second degree is to, buttress on what you learned from your first degree. So we have some people that, based on where they want to go, actually want to pursue the second degree before they join the world of work. Even though I still believe that your experiences matters, especially when it comes to certain organizations and the industry that you want to work in or you want to pursue a career in, you first have to ask yourself that question: where I want to be. Is it critical for me to have my second degree before I get in there? So if it is not that critical, that should inform your decision. And if it is, then you have to pursue that second degree before you move into the world of work. But the most important thing is, do you have the experience for that industry? And is it important for you to have second degree before you get into that industry?
Okay. This is a personal question from me. When people come for interviews and you ask for experience, does internship experience matter?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
It does.
Okay.
For instance, when I was joining Barclays, then now APSA, I had interned with Business and Financial Times, and it was my internship that got me the job.
Wow. So it actually does work.
Yeah.
Great. Shouts go now to Matilda Eramamiade on YouTube. Says very, very educative program ongoing. Another one in here says, I think this one is for Bridget before we move back. It says, would you advise that we focus on our major in something we are passionate about or something else that would bring us money?
That leads to our values, actually. I mentioned that for some people, making money is their value. But for some, job satisfaction will be theirs.
Okay.
So it depends on the individual. If ideally, I would go into something you have passion for, because when you have passion for something, even when there are challenges, the passion would make you get the strength to face the challenges and succeed. Yes. So I would go for the passion. But there are individuals who, whatever the case is, would prefer to go for money. It's not ideal to me, but it depends on the individual.
Great. Final one to you, Sylvia, before we wrap up. How would you, okay, so this message in here says, it's a question, it says, please, is it advisable to have your internship in a private organization?
So, I think I've said this over and over again on where your career path is. We've had people join the bank and later on join the certain government organizations because they thought that that's where they had their passion. So wherever you have your passion, and wherever you have your interest is where you go. So if you want to have internship, and I've mentioned it over and over again, be intentional about it. What is my career path, and what are the steps that I need to take? So if at that point in your life, you know that if I get into a private organization, that's when I'll have that experience, you get it from there. Even though some people, have this perception that, I mean, when you are in the private organizations, they are more intentional about your growth, they are more experienced, and they have time for you as compared to getting into a public company.
Thank you so much, Sylvia, for spending time with us today, and of course to Bridget for taking time off your busy schedule to talk to us. Before we wrap up, the final one I want to take from you, events such as this, Ready to Work, create awareness and are very, very helpful in catalyzing new ways of thinking for young people. What would you encourage the youth to guard against, challenge and pursue to help make their transition from academia to the world of work a smooth one?
Well, I would say that whatever your dream of your career is, one thing to guard against will be sitting idle in career choice. It's better to get engaged somewhere, wherever there is an opening, while you still keep your mind, focused on your dream. So don't sit idle and say that what I'm really interested in hasn't opened up for me, and so you just sit and waste the time. Get engaged somewhere. That is something that would be of help. Challenge yourself to start from somewhere that has an opening for you, while you continue to keep that career in mind and explore possibilities even as you go along. Guard against following the crowd. As young people, it's very easy for us to follow friends and just do what friends are also doing. Guard against following the crowd. Know that you are unique. Your career path might be unique, and so search for it and work towards it. Believe in it, and you will succeed.
All right, thank you so much, Bridget. Believe in it, and you will succeed. Sylvia, anything else you'd like to add? Final piece of advice to my viewers?
My final piece of advice will be for our graduates to be self-aware of where they want to be and to be intentional about their growth. If you need somebody to help you to draw that career plan for yourself, our doors are open. You can always reach out to us. You can also go to www.readytowork@absa.africa to get yourself enrolled on our Ready to Work program so that we can help you grow.
All right, we're going to get that done. But to my guys on YouTube, Facebook, Zoom, if you sent in a question that we're not able to answer, don't worry. The team will answer right after we get off here. But let me quickly remind you about ABSA Ready to Work. It's a toolkit that is designed to provide young people the needed skills that will help you and I to transition smoothly from the lecture room to the world of work. The Ready to Work program supports students with tools to help them develop their skills, their work skills, their people skills, their money skills. Of course, keeping the money, making it and making sure it works for you as well. It's an online training tool that enables participants to choose a path and pays to complete, all the modules at no cost. Make sure you log on to the website now, www.readytowork.absa.africa. Get that done and make sure you stay updated. My name is Eskin. Good morning. I'll catch you on the next episode.